A man stumbled out of Amy's hut, his breathing ragged, his eyes wide with terror. His wrapper was barely tied around his waist, and sweat drenched his face despite the coolness of the night. He looked back at the hut once, shaking his head as if to dispel a nightmare, then took off running into the darkness without a word. Inside the hut, Amy stood frozen by the small wooden window. Her heart pounded in her chest as she peeked out, her keen eyes scanning the empty path. The man was gone. She let out a shaky breath and retreated into the dimly lit room, her figure illuminated by the flickering oil lamp on a low stool. Her dark, flawless skin glistened faintly in the light, and her curly hair tumbled over her shoulders like a cascade of shadows. She reached for her wrapper, quickly tying it back around her waist as if shielding herself from an invisible gaze. Her mind raced. Did he see? She wondered. Did he notice? She paced the room, her bare feet brushing against the woven mat on the floor. It wasn't the first time a man had left her like this, his face a mask of confusion and fear. But tonight felt different. The man had screamed. He had run as if chased by something otherworldly. Amy clenched her fist, her nails digging into her palms. She had learned long ago to live with her secret, to guard it fiercely, but the fear never truly left her. What if someone talked? What if the villagers found out? She sank onto her bamboo bed, her shoulders slumping under the weight of her thoughts. Outside, the village remained silent, unaware of the mystery that lived among them. But Amy knew it was only a matter of time before the whispers began again. And this time, she wasn't sure if she could stop them. In the heart of Abosi village, where the red earth stretched endlessly beneath the scorching sun, and the nights hummed with the melodies of distant crickets, a name lingered on everyone's lips, and that name was Amy.
Hi everyone, just a quick break to remind you to subscribe, like and comment if you're enjoying the story. Your support means so much to us. If you're a new subscriber, welcome to the Ako family. Let us know where you're watching from in the comment section. To our returning subscribers, thank you for always being here. We appreciate you. Now let's dive right back into the story.
She was not just beautiful, she was hypnotic. Amy's presence turned heads and stopped conversations. Her skin glistened like river stones washed clean by the rain, her lips full and inviting, and her dark eyes seemed to conceal the secrets of the universe. Men swore her smile could melt the hardest of hearts, and her graceful walk was enough to ignite desires they could not contain. But Amy was not just known for her beauty. She was infamous for something far more perplexing, far more chilling. The rumors began like soft ripples in a stream, whispered in the dead of night between friends, and soon grew into waves that swept through the entire village. Every man who claimed to have shared her bed came away saying the same thing. I never saw it. Never saw what? Someone would ask, leaning in eagerly. Her private part. It was not there. But somehow, it did not matter. The story sounded impossible, ridiculous even. Yet, the men who told them always had the same haunted look in their eyes. A mixture of awe, shame, and something close to fear. How can you sleep with someone and not see her private part? They whispered in disbelief. And so, the village became consumed by the mystery of Amy. Was she a witch, a spirit, or something even darker? The elders warned the men to stay away from her, saying, beauty that confuses the mind is not natural. It is a trap. But Amy did not seem to care about the rumors. She walked through the village with her head held high, her laughter ringing out like a bell, as if daring anyone to confront her. She was untouchable, unbothered, and utterly captivating. Felix, a newcomer to Abosi, arrived in the village hoping to establish a trading post. But the stories about Amy had quickly caught his attention. Who is this Amy everyone keeps talking about? Felix asked the old man he had made friends with at the village square. The old man chuckled. You are not the first to ask, and you will not be the last. Amy is, well, she is different. Different how? Felix pressed. The old man hesitated before leaning closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Beautiful, yes. But cursed, they say. Men go to her, but they live with stories that no one can explain. Some say she has no private part. Felix raised an eyebrow. No private part. That is impossible. Impossible, but true, the old man insisted. If you are a wise, young man, you will stay away from her. But Felix was not wise. He was curious. And that curiosity only deepened when he saw Amy for the first time. The next day, Felix spotted Amy by the river, fetching water in a clay pot. The setting sun bathed her in golden light, making her look almost unreal. She moved gracefully, her every step deliberate, her figure outlined against the shimmering water. Felix approached cautiously, unsure of what to say. But before he could speak, Amy turned and caught him staring. Are you going to keep standing there, or are you going to say something? She asked, her voice smooth and commanding. Felix smiled, trying to hide his nervousness. I have heard a lot about you. Amy raised an eyebrow. Good things, I hope. That depends on how you define good, Felix replied, his tone teasing. To his surprise, Amy laughed, a genuine, melodious laugh that seemed to erase the tension around her. And what brings you to the river, stranger? I could ask you the same, Felix said, stepping closer. But I suppose it is none of my business. Amy studied him for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she turned back to her pot, dipping it into the water. If you are looking for trouble, Felix, you will not find it here. The mention of his name startled Felix. How do you know who I am? Amy smiled faintly but didn't answer. Instead, she picked up her pot and began walking back to her hut, leaving Felix standing by the river, his curiosity piqued like never before. He watched her disappear into the distance, wondering who she really was and what had caused the mysterious, knowing smile. It lingered in his mind all day, a puzzle he couldn't quite figure out. That night, Felix tossed and turned in bed. His thoughts were consumed by Amy. Her beauty, her quiet confidence, and the way she seemed to hold a secret that not even the village could uncover. He knew there was more to her than met the eye, something hidden behind the layers of rumors that people whispered in hushed tones. He had to find out what it was. The next morning, Felix made a decision. He was going to visit Amy. He needed to understand who she was, why everyone treated her like she was different, and what the truth was behind the mystery that surrounded her. As Felix shared his plan with an old man who lived near the village, the man's reaction was not one of encouragement. Are you mad? The old man exclaimed, his eyes widening with disbelief. You can't go to her. Don't you know what happened to the others? Do you want to end up like them? I just want to talk to her, Felix said, brushing off the warning, determined to follow through with his plan. The old man's face darkened, and he shook his head, his voice lowering to a warning. Mark my words, Felix. Amy is not what she seems. You're playing with fire. Some things in this world are better left alone. Felix, however, was not one to be easily deterred by superstitions or warnings. There was something in Amy's eyes, something that called to him, and he knew he had to uncover the truth. That day, Felix went to Amy's hut again. You're braver than I thought, she said immediately she saw him, setting her basket aside, her voice calm but laced with a hint of something deeper. Or more foolish, Felix replied with a grin, trying to break the tension in the air. Amy's expression shifted slightly, her lips pressing into a thin line. Is that so? And what exactly do you want with me? She asked, her voice colder now, as if she was preparing herself for something she had been expecting. They say you're the most beautiful woman in the village, Felix said, sitting beside her without hesitation. But they also say you carry a mystery that no one can solve. Amy's gaze hardened, and she looked away, her jaw tightening. People love to talk, don't they? She muttered, almost to herself. Felix studied her face, sensing the walls she had built around herself. I don't believe in rumors, he said softly. But I do believe there's more to you than meets the eye. Amy's eyes flickered for a moment, and then, she smiled. A small, sad smile that spoke of burdens too heavy to bear. Felix felt a pang in his chest, the sadness in her smile echoing something deep within him. She left him and went into her hut. Men from the neighboring villages could not take their eyes off Amy. Her beauty was something none of them had ever seen before. They brought her gold, money, and various gifts in an attempt to win her favor. But every time, they were seen running out of her hut, faces pale with shock, fear, and confusion. Even the brave few who had dared to ask for her hand in marriage returned without a word, unable to explain what they had witnessed behind those walls. Felix, however, could not shake off his feelings for Amy. Though the old man had advised him against pursuing her, Felix could not let go of his love. The warnings echoed in his mind, but his heart overrode them. He gathered his courage, decided to cast aside his doubts, and resolved to try his luck with her again. Felix walked up to Amy's hut and, as he approached, he could see her sitting by the window, her hands carefully adorning herself with the jewelry from her admirers. Gold chains, sparkling bracelets, and rings glimmered under the light as she counted the cash with a smile. Wow, it is good to be beautiful, Amy murmured to herself, her voice filled with satisfaction. I do not need to work or stress myself. But as the cash piled up in her hands, a shadow flickered in her eyes. Beneath the surface of her calm expression, there was a deep pain. Amy longed for love, for someone who saw her for more than just her beauty. The mystery that surrounded her, one that kept men at a distance, was a constant weight on her heart. But she had learned to push it aside, pretending it did not bother her. As Felix stepped closer, Amy's gaze flickered toward him, and her lips curled into a slight frown. You again, she said, her voice laced with a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. What do you want from me? Felix took a deep breath, his heart racing. He had come here with a purpose, and now was the time to speak his truth. Amy, he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion, I know there is something wrong. I do not know what it is, but I can see it in your eyes, in the way you carry yourself. I have been watching you, and I cannot help how I feel. I care about you. He paused, watching her closely as he gathered his thoughts. I know this might sound crazy, but if you are willing to give me a chance, I will help you find a way out of whatever it is that is holding you back. I will help you heal. For a moment, Amy said nothing. Her expression softened ever so slightly, as if she was considering his words carefully. There was a silence between them, and Felix wondered if he had said too much. Finally, Amy's stiff posture relaxed, and with a sigh, she gestured toward the doorway. Come in, Felix, she said, her voice calmer now, though still tinged with uncertainty. Felix stepped inside, hopeful yet uncertain, as the door quietly shut behind him. Over the next few weeks, Felix found himself returning to Amy's hut, spending more and more time with her. Their conversations grew deeper, and the trust between them blossomed. He learned that Amy was no ordinary woman. She had a strength to her, a quiet resilience that she kept hidden from the world. She was always guarded, never revealing too much, but Felix's kindness and patience slowly chipped away at her walls. One evening, as they sat by the river once again, the air heavy with the promise of rain, Amy spoke in a low, trembling voice. There's something I need to tell you, she began, her eyes downcast. Something no one else knows. Felix's heart raced, his curiosity piqued. He leaned closer, sensing the gravity in her words. I wasn't always like this, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. When I was born, the midwife screamed. She said I was cursed. My mother took me to a powerful diviner, and he confirmed it. A spirit had claimed me before I was even born. The only way for me to survive was for them to take something from me. Felix's brows furrowed in confusion. Take what? He asked, his voice thick with concern. Amy's hands shook slightly as she spoke. My womanhood. It's there, but it's hidden, sealed by the spirit. No one can see it, not even me. And anyone who tries to break the seal. She trailed off, her eyes distant, as though she were reliving a painful memory. What happens? Felix pressed, his voice urgent. They become crippled or die, Amy whispered, her face contorting with pain. Every man who has tried to marry me has paid the ultimate price. I am cursed, Felix, and I've learned to live with it. Felix was silent for a long moment, his mind racing. The weight of her words hung in the air, thick with the unspoken pain she had carried alone for so many years. Finally, he spoke, his voice firm with determination. What if I don't care about that? What if I want to help you break the curse? He said, his eyes locking onto hers with a sincerity that seemed to shine through the darkness. Amy stared at him, the flicker of hope in her eyes almost unrecognizable. You would risk your life for me? She asked, her voice barely audible. Felix nodded without hesitation. I don't believe in curses that can't be broken. There has to be a way. As their eyes locked, the air around them seemed to change. The river shimmered unnaturally, and a strange wind stirred the leaves around them, carrying with it an ominous energy. Unbeknownst to them, the spirit that had cursed Amy was watching from the shadows, displeased by the defiance that was beginning to unfold. The spirit lingered in the shadows, its presence a heavy, suffocating force. Its eyes burned with anger and rage, watching Felix and Amy. The air seemed to hum with tension, the kind that warned of something unseen yet deadly. Would Felix stand by Amy when the full weight of the curse is unleashed on him? Or would he, like the others before him, flee in terror, leaving her to face her fate alone? And what of the spirit, its fury growing with each passing moment? Would it unleash its wrath upon Amy for daring to expose the truth, for seeking freedom from the chains that bound her? The answers lay shrouded in mystery, hidden in the dark corners of Abosi, where secrets whispered in the wind and danger lurked in every shadow. Watch out for part 2 as we uncover the truth about Amy from Abosi.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to stay connected by leaving your thoughts in the comments, giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you're the first to know when a new content drops. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you in the next video.